Okay, so the pads and rotors all round are on, everything's tight. We're going to go triple check everything again anyway, but now it's time for the brake bleed video. We're going to talk brake bleeding and all the pros and cons, different ways to do things. Firstly, you shouldn't be touching brake bleeding. If there's no fluid left in the system or air in the system, you will have no brakes, matter of life and death. But if you think you know what you're doing and you're gathering extra info, this is what I do. I take off the furthest away cap, and then the second furthest away cap, that's the right hand rear, and it doesn't really matter, I'll get to that in a minute. Driver's one, take those off, get your hands dirty again. Lucky last but not least, the left hand front, beautiful. Should have dirty hands again by now. They might even be broken or missing. You can order them if you like, but you can live without them as well. If you do want to order some, because Toyota put them there for a reason, there's the part number and there's the caps. If you use the Kenco degreaser or Toyota coolant or something like that, you can make an awesome little brake fluid catcher like this. Then there's no need for any tools, tubes or lines. And when it splashes down into there, you've got maximum protection from splash out from the sides, but I don't guarantee none's going to splash out. Place 4 of those under where the drip area is going to be. Use some common sense. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Grab your little 10mm snap-on spanner that you've had since you were a first year apprentice and you decided you needed a quality spanner and you paid probably 20 bucks for that one spanner and thought it was a lot of money, and put it on the hollow bleeder screw and just loosen that. Again, all that dirt and debris and whatever, and just loosen that and you will start seeing fluid start coming out like that is there. Move to the next one at the back, let that drip, make sure it's landing in your drip container. Repeat at the other side at the back, as I said. We'll get to more information soon. Use common sense at all times, okay? Common sense. Drip, drip, drip. This one's going to sort of run down a little bit on a few things and then start dripping, so just monitor the situation. It's going to run the fastest, the driver's one. Make sure you've got your safety boots on. Just thought I'd throw that in there for a laugh. All right, passenger side. And all the experts that know more than me are going, oh no, he doesn't know what he's doing, this guy, you know, he's done the wrong side, he's done it in the wrong order, you know, he doesn't drip, 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 drip. We'll get to that, don't worry. Where's that bloody drip, come on. There we are, down there, we're dripping, we're happening. It's a happening thing. Okay, we've got all 4 dripping. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Oh no, what's he doing, this guy? He's crazy. Well, if you're at working height, you're laughing, but if you're on a hoist, you need to lower the vehicle down to access the brake fluid reservoir and or get a ladder to climb up there, right? See the fluid, it's just pouring out there. Beautiful. And here we are up at the brake fluid reservoir. Oh no, look, we're going to run out of brake fluid. There's a whole heap of information and factors here that I'm going to give you, and I'm probably going to miss some, which is why I keep saying go and watch that brakes playlist. Bleeding brakes is very dangerous, and I'm going to recommend you don't do it unless you fully understand. That's why I said use common sense. If you haven't got common sense or training, hopefully both, there could be a bit of trouble. So, firstly, everybody talks about what I want to say, back on the common sense thing, the whole reason rules were made because of when people made mistakes. Let's say, you know, not everybody should be doing everything. Everybody's got their own, what they're good at. And when people make mistakes, that's when there needs to be rules put in place or procedures on how to do things. And that's what has happened, obviously, when I was an apprentice. Of course, they taught me, oh, you got to do the furthest one first, and you got to pump the brake, you got to do this, and you got to do that. At trade school, they didn't really talk about gravity bleeding. That wasn't until I was an apprentice in the workshop. And one of the mechanics, we were with Bib Stillwell race mechanics, right? Anyway, they said, oh, just do gravity bleeding. You can do it on your own, and, you know. And of course, there's so many more good reasons for gravity bleeding, like not pumping that master cylinder past travel where it's normally used to going, because it's just not used to that. And there could be debris built up over the years, that sort of thing. And you don't really want to get involved in that and then having to change your master cylinder. Now, the reason this is blue, stained blue, there was some blue brake fluid in there at one stage. And of course, it only takes a little bit. We can make this all clear or yellow or whatever again, and it'll be blue again in no time. And that's what you're about to see. Now, there's a few experts out there that are sort of questioning what I've done and why I've done it in what order and why I haven't pumped the brakes and haven't I just changed the pads and I haven't even pumped the pads out yet. I'm going to answer all those questions for you, back to that common sense, right? So if you can just use common sense and be smart and educated and figure things out, you don't really need rules and procedures. You just know you do what you do because it works. And I suppose that's a lot of what I do. I just, know how it all works. When you know how it works, then you do it. So I've got my way, you've got your way, and other people have got their ways they're going to tell you, and I'm wrong. So it's all good, but let's just talk about the wrong way to do things then. So as I already explained, common sense. Now, the reason I haven't pumped the brakes up, because if I pump the brakes up, I've already pushed the pistons back. The whole system's sealed. The pistons don't need to be pushed out to the discs to bleed the brake fluid. So what I've done by leaving everything in the position it's in, all the brake fluid was all the way up to the top of the reservoir, and you can see it's dropping rapidly, and I'm completely confident to open all the bleeders and just let it all gravity bleed out while I yak away for the next 5 minutes. I'm not even looking at where it's going. Hopefully it's going in those containers. Now you might think, haven't you got a better system than that? Well, I'll say, why don't you think again and say, is there a better system than that? I've got 4 free containers, no tools. I can work on the vehicle now. I could be going around here, doing this, doing that. All I've got to do is got to remember to look over here every now and then so I know when to top up that brake fluid. Don't let it run out as one of the precautions. But then again, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what I do, okay? Because it's dangerous. And unless you know what you're doing and you understand, you probably shouldn't do it, okay? There's things you can do. You might just wreck your own car if you don't watch all the videos, listen till the end, gather enough videos and information by watching all the videos so that you're really well trained. Then you'll pass the test when it comes to time to doing the job. If you jump in, you're fast forwarding videos, you're not watching to the end, I talk too much, whatever. Well, the talking is another bloody lecture so that you can get yourself educated. So you better listen if you're going to work on your vehicle or you're working on your vehicle, okay? So I'm not here to encourage you to bring work to me, and I'm not here to encourage you to work on your own vehicle if you shouldn't be. I'm here to help if you're considering that. I'm here to help educate you, help give you some ideas, get you thinking outside the square, understand the system. So, do we have to do the furthest one first? How come I'm doing all 4 at once? Again, I understand the system, okay? All the bleeders are open. The gravity, this is where this is the high point of the whole system, right? The low point's the calipers and the air comes to the top, which is why the bleeder's at the top of the caliper. So there's positive pressure from this reservoir here. The bigger the reservoir, the higher it is, the more pressure there is. I don't know if you've ever done any tests like that with different things, The higher things are, the more pressure there is. Like, you might just have experiences refilling diesel or petrol from one container to another, and if you've got one of those jigger things, if you know what I'm talking about, the more level, the smaller the difference, the slower it flows, the greater the difference, the faster it flows. Well, the same with the brake system. Luckily, we've got enough height here, and it's just what it is, and we can't change it. Now, there's tools you can buy that suck it out, and people say it's quicker and all that sort of thing, but you'll just see in this video how quick it is that I can just about empty the whole system. And you tell me, what's quicker if I'm not actually doing anything? It's like that thing, what's cheaper, the cheap brakes or the cheap tyres or the most expensive tyres and brakes that last 3 times longer? Well, the better one's cheaper if it lasts longer. And if I'm over here filling up the oil or changing the oil filter, okay, or topping up the coolant or the washer bottle or checking something else, guess what? I'm doing the brake fluid change or the brake fluid bleed for free. Now, there's going to be times that you do need to pump the pedal and stuff like that. We'll get to that. But at the moment, it doesn't matter which one's open. It doesn't matter that they're all open. We haven't let any air into the system, and as long as we don't let it run out, then we're not going to let any air in the system. Hey, mate, we got any brake fluid left? Oh, no, we've got no brake. No, I'm just joking. We've got plenty of brake fluid, but things like that can happen. Make sure you've got enough brake fluid. Get a bit extra. You're going to use it next time, maybe. If you don't use it, take it back, get a refund. You don't want it sitting around, and certainly if the container's been opened, brake fluid is hygroscopic. It absorbs moisture, right? So that's, what's in the air, moisture. The more humid it is, the more moisture in the air, blah, blah, blah. Even though it's sealed up, it still absorbs moisture. So you want, brake fluid is one of the things you really want fresh stuff. Coolant, well, in the bottle, oil, whatever. I'm not too worried about that. Some people are going to put in the comments, go on, do it. Oh, no, you can't have oil that's 2 years old. Whatever it does. I don't care. It'll be fine. Brake fluid, well, a couple of years in a sealed container, probably not too bad, but rest assured, it absorbs moisture over time. Hygroscopic. Go and Google it. Don't wipe brake fluid with a brake fluidy, dirty rag, if you spill it on something, if you spill brake fluid on paintwork, you need to wash it off with water. It'll go all white and sort of kind of like soapy, foamy. How do you explain it to keep it simple? But it's water-based, and the brake fluid will absorb the water, and it'll thin it out, and that's what you need to do on paintwork. Don't just spill on your paintwork here and then just wipe it off. You might not have any paint there in 3 weeks' time. Maybe it'll take a bit longer. So we're just yakking away while the fluid's going down. I'm giving you some info. So they're still all open and they're still pouring away. And one way to tell when the clean fluids come through, which won't be at the moment because as you can see, and you never really get it all through, but you get most of it if you follow the procedure. You watch and you look at the colour and you keep pouring more in here. You let it go as low as possible without it running out. For you, that might be the minimum line. That'll do. And that's what I'm saying. You never really get it all out because when it's down to minimum, it's probably about half full still. So I might let it run a little bit lower than that. You might need to take the filter out. You might need to have a look in there. I'm not going into details on what you should do. What I'm trying to say is it doesn't matter which one you do first, okay? If you've got an empty brake system, it would be wise to bleed it through to the furthest one first, then the second furthest, which is furthest is usually your opposite side of the vehicle at the back, and then the back at the same side, and then the opposite side at the front, and then the same side, which in this case, Australia, right-hand drive, the right-hand front would be the last one. But like I said, we're not going to run out of fluid. We're not trying to get any air out specifically where we've had a problem. Where this will get it out, gravity. It's just as simple as it sounds. It just flows through. There's no air in the system. And the master cylinder's not even moving. It's absolutely beautiful for pretty much all makes and models. Some vehicles give you a bit of complications. Some vehicles you've got to have the power turned on, like the 150 Prados. The accumulator master cylinder looks a bit different to this. Bada bing. Brake fluid should be changed every 2 years because it's hygroscopic. Every 40,000 k's is Toyota's schedule. But if you're not doing 40,000 k's in 2 years, which some people aren't, rest assured brake fluid should be changed every 2 years because it's hygroscopic. Now, see this little compartment at the front? So that's going to mess with us as well. And that's what I'm saying. We can run that right down. We're still going to have some coloured fluid in there. We put the nice new, we're using genuine. Toyota. This is not the most efficient way to buy brake fluid, okay? .3. We use the right stuff. We use genuine. Why do I buy it like this? Well, we're not a brake specialist. If we went through 20 litres a week, I'd still buy the 20 litre drums. I used to do that. But guess what? Sometimes we don't use it for weeks. I want a sealed container, right? That's what we're using. So pretty much what I'm going to do, soon after that gets to the minimum line, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to monitor it closely. I know roughly where I can go to, and I'm going to start pouring fluid in. And then I'm going to look at the ground, and when that cleaner fluid starts coming through, and what I'm going to do, it's like a transmission flush. I'm not going to just keep pouring, keeping it full. I want to fill it, and I want to run it down. I want to fill it. If you want, you can take this filter out. This is what I normally do. But I do brake fluid that often that I don't need to do this, right? So what I would do, if this was your vehicle and I don't know, I take that filter out. There's like a little inlet filter. I've got some different size tubes that I put in there and I evacuate it all out so it's empty, and then refill this and start it from scratch. In this case, the car was up on the hoist. I've done the brakes. I just want to get the ball rolling. And like I said, if I'm doing other things, I could be mopping the floor, cleaning up, whatever. There's other things to do. This isn't costing me any time to do. But I'm still going to charge you for it when you bring it in to get this service completed, okay? Just to be clear. So what I'm going to do soon, as I said, add the fluid, then I'm going to let it go down again, and I'm just going to let that happen. And when I see the cleaner ones, I'm going to start closing those ones up so there's more flow to the ones that aren't so clean. I'm guessing that the driver's front's going to come cleanest the first, and it doesn't matter that I close that up and the other ones are still open. It doesn't need to be done again last. Again, think about it as that common sense thing. If you don't get it, don't touch it. All right, I'm going to go get some brake fluid ready to start topping this up soon. All right, so I've refilled the fluid in. It's hard to tell the colour because the light's shining on it, whatever anyway, but it's much lighter in colour. We'll keep an eye out at those four wheels. As it starts changing, we'll do this a couple of times. We're not going to use a lot of fluid doing it this way, and we're not going to get it all out 100%, but what I was saying is you've got to run it down each time. Don't just keep topping up, because then it's like it's still mixed going down. You want to, every time you drop it down and refill it, just think you've changed half of it. Then you drop it down and refill it. You've changed 70%, drop it down and refill it. You're probably at 85%, drop it down, you know what I mean? Depends how much time you've got. I haven't got that much time. This is fairly clean brake fluid already. It's going to be cleaner again. Any excuse to do a brake fluid change. If I do the rear brakes, I'll do it. Front brakes, I'll do it. Adjust the handbrakes, I'll do it. If I think it's due on a service, I'll do it. There's no such thing as changing the brake fluid too much. There is a problem though if you start removing braking lines, hoses, and pump and brakes and master cylinders to areas they're not used to traveling. So I think we've pretty much nailed it. The other important thing is,
when you close off these bleeders, remember they are hollow. That's why there's fluid coming out the middle. Don't over tighten them, you'll snap them off. They're a tapered seat. They just need to be tight enough to seal that fluid from coming out and tight enough they don't come loose. I would estimate, I don't know the torque spec, I would estimate somewhere close to the 10 Newton meters, either side, somewhere there. But you can look it up, let us know in the comments. Thanks for your help.
Yeah, still going, still going. Yeah, this one's still going as well. Same old, same old. Believe me, it works. I've done it a few times. There's always some experts that know better though. So let's keep an eye in the comments and see how many people have got corrections for me, because I'm wrong, remember? Look at that, how green it is. What does yellow and blue make? Green, you got it. So a couple of other important things. If you do decide to pump the brake pedal, and at one point you're going to have to do that, once all your brakes are completed, you should also get in the vehicle and give the pedal lots of very short pumps to push the pistons out to their normal area to take up the clearance between the pads and the rotors. Don't do it in just forgetting and jumping in and pushing it to the floor, because you could cause problems with that. So you need to do that. And of course, if you're going to pump your pedal to bleed brakes for whatever reason, and you can do that if you like, I'm not saying we never do that, it might speed things up. If that's the only job left on the vehicle and you've got two people, or you've got tools and stuff like that, I've got one-way valve things I can use and all sorts of things for different vehicles when there's problems and whatever. And sometimes there's problems, don't you worry. So that's where I say just be careful, because this is when everything goes to plan. This job, everything's pretty well gone to plan. You can start working on vehicles and brakes and things don't go to plan. So I hope it's not your daily driver, because when it doesn't go to plan, you need to have plan B. Right, so the main thing is, if you're bleeding the brakes or pumping up the pedal, lots of short pumps, not big push it all the way to the floor type pumps. Same if you're bleeding the brakes. What I would do is, you've got someone in the car, you get someone out and you're saying up, down, or open, close, whatever you're doing, whoever's controlling the situation. The person, look, this is how I like to do it. If I've got someone in the car, I'll say down, and they can then say to me down when they're down, right? So they'll put their foot on the pedal, and I'll open it, and I'll see it flowing, and I'll close. I know how much is coming, so I'll control it, because I don't want them to stop halfway and then accidentally lift their foot up a little bit before I've closed it type thing. So I'll be more of a, you push it down, and I'm open, close. So it'll like squirt out, and I'll shut it in. I'll go up, down. So straight away it's up and straight back on it down. So it's up, down. And you go, yep. And then I'll go open, close, and you go down, or whatever. You need to work out your system. You need to be really good with communication, get it really clear. But I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. We don't want push it halfway, let me know when you're halfway, then close it. The pedal's moving slightly, you don't notice, and it's sucking air backwards. You don't want that, because that's not going to end up really good, is it? See how you can see it's a lot more yellower at the back than it is at the front. But anyway, we'll continue this a couple more times till I get sick of it. We'll call it a brake fluid flush, brake fluid bleed, whatever, and we'll do it again another day. Doesn't matter if you do one wheel, it doesn't matter if you do just the front or just the rear. Anything like this is getting new fluid through to whichever end you do. And of course, if you replace it at the top here and just do the rear, you've done the whole system except what's going to the front. And even if it pumps up and down and it works its way back, that fluid works its way back, you're talking about less than 10% of what's in the whole system, because most of it is here in the reservoir, in the lines, in the calipers, blah, 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 right? So whatever, something like that anyway, you know what I mean? All right, so this is going to get pretty boring now, because I'm just going to let that drop down as it is and fill it up and drop it down. Then I'm going to get in the vehicle and I'm going to pump the brake pedal, lots of really short pumps till I feel it go hard. Then I'm going to start it up and I'm going to go and road test the vehicle. Don't forget to torque up your wheel nuts. That's probably one of the most important torque specifications for the whole job. Around 110 works. Some of them, 108, 113, 100 and whatever. But you know what? About 110, 115, thereabouts is what works. Newton meters, please. And make sure you double check all your nuts and bolts on the whole job. Make sure you get your tyre wires off and all that sort of thing. And I think that pretty well concludes, other than me putting wheels on, which is pretty boring. I'm sure you can do that. 5 videos, the big brake job. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked it. Hit the like button if you did. I'm sure you learnt something. I'll be looking at the comments. And in case you didn't know and you do watch till the end, all the comments are held for review or approval, because there's a fair few swear words and people carry on every now and then. And I know you don't want that, so I'm putting in the time. It doesn't take too long each day, a few minutes each day, to just go through, approve it. As long as it's short and sweet, I can get through it really quick. If it's one of those long ones, I'll skim it and I don't get to read it. If you want me to read your comment, then make it short
And don't bother asking questions and expect an answer there. Expect the answer in a video. Bada bing. Thanks for watching. Bada boom. Catch you on the next one. See ya.